Question. Did you ever feel stuck, like mentally stuck about making a decision of any sort? Let's talk about this. Back in a minute. Good morning. Good morning. This morning's video is not going to be really, really long, but I do have a question to throw out there. Have any of you ever had a tough time making a decision? You feel like you're actually like at the fork of the road, at the crossroads of making a decision. You're not sure whether to go here or there. It could be something as simple as redecorating your home or apartment, but it's not that simple sometimes. It costs a lot of money, right? Depending on what you're doing. Changing out the color of curtains is one thing, but making a house or an apartment renovation of some sort, that's another thing. This is just examples. Or there are different things where you're at the fork in the road. Like what kind of an account should you open? That might be life changing, in the money arena. There's another crossroads. Some people have the crossroads of, do I get to pay my rent this month or do I have to put food on my table first? Listen, I'm just being very real. There are many people out there in all sorts of crisis, and they're all what? In the fork of the road or at the crossroads. I am convinced sometimes the hardest thing in the world is making the decision, not once the decision is made. Did you ever notice that? And I noticed that, like with things that you kind of like dread doing, like you're like, I really, I'm not in the mood to do it. I go through this every around April, if you will. At tax time, like, oh, here we go again, taking out the paperwork, blah, 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 beep, 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 blah, 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 dealing with this, that, and the other. But it's one of those things in life you got to do, right? Especially if you're self-employed, definitely you have to do what you have to do. And it's one of those like annual things of, well, when are you going to do it? Thankfully, I always do things on time, if not a little earlier. But sometimes it's the revving up. Okay, what day am I going to pick to sit down and do this thing? Whatever the thing may be. It could be maybe a tax thing, it could be a different thing or a different business matter or another thing. Or should I go into my stockpile and rearrange it? Or should I check my inventory? This is work and it's real work and it's important work. It may be joyful work, but it is work and it is important work. And sometimes we're sitting there in the middle of the road at the crossroads on any given day going and scratching our head and thinking, where do I go from here? Has that ever happened to you? Let me know in the comments section below. But I am convinced that it's the beforehand, that angsting over what should I do, what should I do here, there, or anywhere, that's much more difficult than once the decision is made. So if we could tell ourselves, you know what? Make a decision, you try your best. Do things at first in an, not, very far away from distraction. I could tell you this much. Take yourself away from, if you're in a dilemma situation, do yourself a favor. Take yourself out of any distracting situation, too much noisy sounds, TVs blasting or whatever's going on around you. Remove yourself, and even if you have to go sit in your car. Sometimes the best thoughts come to people in their cars by themselves. They don't even have to drive. I'm just saying, go in your garage or whatever, or sit in the driveway and just like sit there in your car in peace to get away from the chaos. Sometimes people need a minute to regroup. And I'm telling you, that is a very, very important thing. Or you can't figure out where to go to start from. How do you want to repay your financials? You want to get everything in order. Sometimes you got to understand one thing: Rome was not built in a day. That's number one. Number two, we may or may not make a mistake. But the biggest mistake is not acknowledging that there is some sort of change that needs to be made. But you already know that. Most people, because you're at the fork in the road. You're at the side of dilemma. But I could promise you this: we will feel, all of us feel better once the decision is made. Example, I made a date with myself. I wrote down in my date planner, this is the day you are going to take care of your taxes. I'm just saying that as an example, okay? Write it down in the book. Now I have a date, I have an appointment. This is making it more real for me. I'm going to get all my paperwork together, go over everything. If I have any questions, make some phone calls, this, that, and this. Okay. For me, that takes care of a lot of stuff. That takes the pressure off. Is there something that maybe you should schedule in your appointment book, notebook, day plan, or whatever notation, wherever you're putting it, makes no difference to me financially? Or to decide, well, when am I going to start saving? When am I going to be able to accrue an emergency fund? Sit down and make a decision is very helpful. Putting it on paper is extremely helpful. You are making it real. Now, some people play that down because for them they don't need to. Some people are put things down on paper people, and some people are more like, I could just put a check mark in my brain and I'm good, and there's nothing wrong either way. Nothing wrong either way. Or they just make little notes on their phone, but it makes the situation real. Now if it's a situation that you're dreading, and if you have an opportunity, let's say it's a paperwork thing, and you have an opportunity to get your toe in the water, sometimes you don't want to jump into the swimming pool altogether. Maybe it's best to get your toe in the water, look at things, make an appointment day in your day planner for the thing you're dreading to do, this paperwork. Put on the timer and say, today I am going to spend 15 minutes only with this allotted time to look over my paperwork. Once the bell rings, close it up, put it away. Well, I'm saying this in case this is not a matter of great urgency, where as if you have this flexibility. Because sometimes just getting started is the most difficult thing in the world. But put it this way, just imagine that you're at the crossroads, right? You're looking the left and you're saying, this is decision A. You look to your right, this is decision B. You're standing at the crossroads. Now, just standing there is almost like paralysis analysis if you're just standing there. Let's imagine you standing there for a week in real time. Let's imagine you're on an imaginary road. It's like a dead end street. No cars are behind you, so you don't have to worry about traffic. But you're looking at a fork in the road and you are standing in the center. You're looking at point A on your left, going, huh, I could do that. And then you turn around and you look at point B on the right and you go, huh, I could do that. Right. However, let's pretend in real time that you're standing there 7 days and nights straight without walking away. What? Janet, that sounds crazy. I know. I know it sounds crazy, but that's how people get stuck in mental analysis paralysis, which could be really, really, really not fun. Here's what I think is the matter there. I am almost convinced practically that in cases like that, when a person is mentally standing there for 7 days straight without doing anything, just looking left and looking right and looking left and looking right, you could get old in a hurry. Know what I'm saying? You might get a little hungry and want to take a nap. I'm just saying. But I am convinced that the hardest thing that people need to do is make a decision. It's making the decision. They're afraid of failure. They're afraid of making the wrong choice. I say this, better off to make the wrong choice and find out and course correct it, jump back on the road again and make a better choice than standing at financial and mental analysis paralysis. Not good. Are you in that state of mind? I can't answer that for you. Only you could answer that for you. Is there something lingering on the back of your mind that you've been putting off, putting off, putting off? I'm not talking about getting a day plan and today write down that in about a week you're going to do something and stick to your guns and do it. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like months and months of delay, delay, delay. And it just like it sits quietly and festers on your mind. This is not good. Better to make a decision. Don't be afraid of failure. Okay. Don't be, we all fail. Let's get something straight. I fail, you fail, the whole world fails. That's why it's called trial and error. Trial and error. But if we don't try, how can we ever not know that there's an error to be corrected?